So Tom, I'm curious from a holiday shopping perspective, when will the shopping season start?
In 2014, September. Previous years might have been the end of October. What we're seeing is retailers essentially trying to bring products to the store much, much earlier, merchandise to the store earlier. We're also seeing the shopper this particular year actually use a tremendous amount of pre-planning in an effort to ensure that they navigate and war game how they're going to spend each and every dollar. As we looked at this holiday season, we saw a break. And the break is basically folks that are making more than $50,000 a year. We call them selectionists. Folks making under $50,000 a year, we call them survivalists. Each of those groups have their own spending patterns, their spending budgets. In fact, they even have the categories they're going to select. There may be a tremendous amount of, I'll call it, experience euphoria. However, that's going to be looked at, tempered by the reality of what the shopper has through something we call the lens of affordability.
So let's talk about the pace of shopping. How do we see the shopping season changing?
Let's divide the holiday season into 4 periods. I think that's a really important way to look at it. There will be this period between September and Thanksgiving weekend, where about 42% of the holiday dollars will be spent by both the survivalist and selectionist. The second period then is the week of Black Friday. The third period essentially is the period between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then the fourth, in which about 50% of the money will be spent. And then there's a period right after Christmas where people are selecting next year's holiday gifts, which is about 8%. What is interesting about that is that the retailers, in the model of how do retailers and landlords work together, getting to the right shopper at the right time with the right messaging or the right value equation is critical for each of those periods. And that's, when we look at those periods have actually sort of stabilized over the past 3 or 4 years. Where it used to be much, much later in the season, now it's much earlier in the season, based upon cash availability, disposable income, and based upon just the general desire to want to do pre-planning to find the things I want for my family.
The planning, it makes a difference. I think we would, if we dissected it, we would see that logistics and distribution activity would suggest it's already begun.
Yes.
And I think, you know, what used to be Halloweenish as a start date may have been as early as Labor Day this year. And that gets back to the planning. Taking advantage of deals when they're there and knowing that they can be delivered and stuck in a closet, and Christmas comes earlier.
So Byron, are we going to see more doors open on Thanksgiving Day?
So I hear that. I hear you see more and more discussion around earlier hours, later hours, surprise opportunities for, you know, doorbusters at each incremental hour. And I think that will add to the intrigue, the family planning, and frankly the experience.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm a little mixed about whether we're going to see a lot of earlier hours, but I do believe there's a lot more folks going to come to the store at 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I mean, last year we were from 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock until the next morning at 4 o'clock, and it was intriguing that this hour by hour doorbuster mania, it was like lemmings going to a point to look at what's here and then going over here and then going back over here. That will continue this year big time.
I think so.
What's interesting, Byron, it sounds like from our conversation, holiday starts now sometime September and really goes into January or perhaps even longer. Is that what we're seeing at the landlord?
I think so, and as you're saying that, I'm thinking about not only with the goods mix, but also the fulfillment opportunity. Because I can only imagine that many of those gift cards will be used and searched online for the products that are going to be used, for which the gift cards will be used, and then they've got to be on the game to make sure that fulfillment is equally seamless. Whether it's coming from a warehouse in a different part of the country or whether it's coming from the store that happens to be in the immediate locale.